Greetings, Paul Mays with you. I'm a Christian. I was having a Bible study tonight. Shocking, right? And we were talking about baptism. Shocking. No, it's not, because that's my favorite subject, the gospel of Jesus Christ. And we were talking about baptism, and there's three terms in Scripture that are synonymous, and I wanted to bring those to light. We've got preaching Jesus, the word of the Lord, and the gospel. Let's tie those three together. Let's go with preaching Jesus first. Philip's on the road with the Ethiopian eunuch, and he preached Jesus unto him. That's what the King James says. He preached Jesus unto him. The result of that, in the very next verse, the Ethiopian said, "Here's water. What hinders me from being baptized?" He went down to the water and he baptized him. That's the result of preaching Jesus. If you actually preach Jesus, see, Philip, he was inspired by God, so he's going to preach the actual gospel of Jesus Christ. He's directly inspired by God. He's going to be preaching truth. And the result of him preaching truth, the actual gospel of Jesus Christ, was that the Ethiopian saw water and said, "Hey, what hinders me?" They went into the water, down into the water together, and he was baptized. The same thing happened to him, from that happened to everybody in the book of Acts. He had his sins washed away, Acts 22:16. He had his sins remitted, Acts 2:38, and the Lord himself added him, the Ethiopian, to the one church that he established. That's Acts 2:47. So let's look at the other term, the word of the Lord. Speaking the word of the Lord. When Paul was in prison, there was an earthquake. The doors flew open in the jail, and the jailer, seeing this, he started to kill himself because he knew that he was going to be killed by the government for losing prisoners. But Paul said, "Hey, don't hurt yourself. We're all still here." So the jailer's impressed, and he says, "Sirs, what must I do to be saved?" That's a very important question. "Sirs, what must I do to be saved?" Now, Paul said, "Believe on the Lord." But that's not all he said. In the very next verse, he spoke the word of the Lord unto him. Spoke the word of the Lord. Now, just like with Philip, he was inspired. So the word of the Lord is going to include everything he needs to know to be saved, because he just said, "What must I do to be saved?" You know what the result was? You guessed it. Immediate. The word is straightway in the King James. Straightway. And it says the very same hour. So he heard the word of the Lord, and he wanted to be baptized. And the same thing happened for him that had just happened for the Ethiopian eunuch. Same thing that can happen for you today too. Now, an honest Bible student, someone who's willing to let Scripture define terms, will search and see what does the Bible say about this. You can see what it says about the word of the Lord, preaching Jesus. What about the gospel? Well, you think Jesus is authoritative enough? I think he is, the very Son of God. Let's turn to him and see what the gospel is and what it includes and who's going to be saved. Mark 16 and 15 and 16, Jesus said, "Go and preach the gospel to the whole world. He that believes and is baptized will be saved." What's that, Jesus? What's the gospel? He that believes and is baptized. Who's going to be saved? He that believes and is baptized will be saved. So the gospel is synonymous with preaching Jesus, is synonymous with the word of the Lord. So baptism is part of the gospel. Now, this is shocking to many people who just say, "Oh, well, baptism is just an outward display of an inward change. Baptism doesn't save you." Well, Peter says baptism now also saves you in 1 Peter 3:21. So don't take my word for it. Be more noble like those Berean Jews and look it up for yourself. I'm not the authority, but the Bible is. God reveals his authority in God-breathed word. 2 Timothy 3:16 and 17 says, "All scripture is breathed out by God, profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction and righteousness, that the man of God may be perfectly furnished, completely equipped unto every good work." Paul Mays, feel free to message me. I'd love to study the gospel of Jesus Christ with you. Thanks for listening.